Welcome home. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. It is Festivus for the rest of us around here. I even have my blunt person shirt on. You're going to find out how blunt I'll be in the coming weeks. Baltimore Positive is going to be presenting, I dare I say the biggest thing we've ever done, because Curio and Foreign Dot are sponsor our 25th anniversary. We're doing a thing out on the web called 25 Stories of Glory. They are our 25 sort of greatest hits, the greatest things we've done here. All of them involve the community. All of them involve people. Some of them involve charities. Many of them involve celebrities. Some of them involve regular people. But we're counting them down out at the front of Baltimore Positive. And we are going to sort of I don't know, to bang the drums for 1 week. It's we've done Radio Row all these years, at many places all over the country. This year we're doing something called Crab Cake Row. It's going to be brought to you by our friends at the Maryland Lottery. I'm going to have scratch-offs left over from the holidays, but there's still winners in this batch. John Martin promised me that. We'll also have some fresh ones. The week of February the 5th, come on out. It's going to involve crab cakes. It's going to involve crab soup, but I'm not giving too much away because it is Super Bowl week. Bill Cole joins us now. I have the Royal Farms coffee powering up into the Cole Roofing mug. You've been, incommunicado. Where you been, man? Happy New Year. First thing, I think it's the first time we've gotten together this year. And Ravens have a bye. All is well with the world. Joe Flacco's in the playoffs. You know what I mean? We avoided the snowstorm over the week. Things are okay. It's a good 2024 so far.
Yeah, Happy New Year. I don't know if any of our conversations hit it, but I definitely was the guy going around saying like, man, we're gonna get like the first seed or second seed, and then we're gonna take a week off, and then we're gonna run into one of these wild card teams who's hot. It's gonna come in and just spank us, and everybody's gonna be depressed. And the only variation to that story that I'll give is that, like, I think we might be the hot team. So the only question is whether the time off just totally kills all of our mojo, because we really progressively got better, and I don't think the team could have had any more confidence than, after spanking the Niners and the Dolphins. Like holy cow, like who saw that coming? So I don't know. The curiosity is at its maximum, and we'll see where it goes, but it should be fun.
This is where, like, the Michael Jackson meme where he's eating the popcorn and Thriller. This is the point where you're like, what's Joe Flacco going to do? The Matt Stafford story is there. And, these teams like the Lions and the Browns that never win anything. And everyone that I've spoken to, and I'm doing a ton of football this week. I mean, we've just had Solomon Wilcots. We have Hall of Fame voters, Mike Flynn, former Ravens, Super Bowl champions. There's going to be a lot of stuff here the next couple of weeks. You're going to recognize old Nasty Nestor coming out of his shell for a Purple Rain 3 run here. But everybody just thinks the Ravens and the 49ers are the best team. And I think it's easy every year to look at the 1 seed. And especially since you said something about the 2 seed getting a bye. No, that's so 2019. Right. This is now like a real benefit. It's a real privilege. You're the only team that gets it. Everybody else has to go play. And I've said this a lot. I'm going to sound like a broken record to anybody that really listens to the station or listens to every segment, or my pal John Keller, who just got back from Korea, that watches everything we do. All along, and I think I've had these conversations with you. I've had them with everybody. I'm like, show me the January, and then this is back in June and back in the summer after they signed Lamar, or even before they signed Lamar, to say, should they give Lamar all this money? I had to ask myself a question. Could they beat the Bills in Buffalo, Kansas City in Kansas City, and let's say Cincinnati in Cincinnati to get to a Super Bowl, right? Could they beat Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes? And I would even put Trevor Lawrence in there because they were sort of coming along. You could put Deshaun Watson in there if you wish, because he's thought to be that caliber of quarterback. Aaron Rodgers came over and the Jets were just going to win. Tua Tagovailoa is certainly not a bad quarterback. He's had a phenomenal year as well. So there's all these quarterbacks, and you'd say, how are the Ravens going to navigate beating 3 of them with Lamar? Now, this is running Lamar, not throwing Lamar. This is injured Lamar. This is pound the ground Lamar. This is not sit in the pocket Lamar. The things that we've seen the last 8-10 weeks that have been promised, that they said it was going to come, that accuracy was going to get better and the receivers were going to get better and the defense was going to get – I mean, everything they've done, staying healthy, other than Mark Andrews, but they've likely done a nice job. But I thought the navigation part of this would eat them up. that it would be very hard for me to say, well, how are they going to go to a Super Bowl if they got to go to Kansas City and go to Buffalo? Like, Lamar's never won those games. I mean, really, they haven't. They haven't won those games. You hate on Mike Vrabel because of what the Titans did a couple years ago. He got fired, so I know you're happy about that. I'm happy because he wore all that Oilers stuff and wore the Bum Phillips hat. I'm like, dude, don't rub salt in the wounds of old fans. I'm an old Colt fan. I've been dealing with that for 41 years. Stop.
Right.
So all these teams, all these navigating places, and now what we're doing is watching everybody on TV this weekend. Next weekend, you get the worst of all of them. Might be Mason Rudolph. Might be Joe Flacco, old guy. Might be C.J. Stroud, who they beat up week 1, right? So there's no chance they get Mahomes next week. There's no chance they get Josh Allen next week, right? So right off the bat, and it's a home game, so it's a winnable game. Weather, I don't know. We can't put a roof on the thing, but we get a 22-degree snowy day, sort of neutralizes whoever we play because I don't think Lamar's going to play great in bad weather. Now, maybe he'll go win an AFC Championship game. I don't know, but I haven't seen.
I would not. I would not say he can't do anything at this point because all of the things that historically NFL teams have struggled with, this Raven team has just run right through those brick walls. Like, oh, you can't go across the West Coast. Oh, you can't go West Coast, come back on a short week and play the other good team in the AFC and beat that. No, we've done them all. I think it'll be interesting to see, like, who thinks the Texans are going to beat the Browns, right? Like, nobody. You know, that Dolphins-Chiefs game is going to be great, right?
5 degrees it's going to be, and the Dolphins are trying to throw the ball around.
Right. How about the Steelers, in some weird alternate universe?
Playing defense, forcing 2 turnovers. It's not hard to see the Steelers beating the Bills for me because that would be about the Bills throwing the ball around and the Steelers taking advantage of that and not turning the ball over and beating them 19-17 with a field. Like that.
Yeah.
If I had to pick a team this weekend that could still be alive, I would pick the Steelers because the Bills have been so wildly. I mean, hell, they barely got the game at home. I mean, they almost had to go back on the, so the Bills' path, when you talk about a team that could go to the Super Bowl here, the Bills have an easier path. They have a 4th-string quarterback coming in with Pittsburgh. Wasn't a very good team to begin with, right? So they have that going for them. They have their health. Right? They have a home game. Then they have another home game. So if Mahomes wins, now they get the game in Buffalo next week, right? Yeah. So the Bills have a pathway here to say, we'll take our chances with Lamar. We'll go play Lamar in Buffalo weather in Baltimore on, the 28th of January, right? Like, so sure. But the Ravens, to me, everybody I talked to, it's like, how are they going to be beat? They had a lead in every game. They were 2-minute warning. They weren't behind by 2 scores until they weren't trying, playing their backups. Their backups almost won. Like, all of this plays into they are the best team. Now they have to go out for 3 hours and be the best team and beat San Francisco again without 5 turnovers in a Super Bowl. They have to win at home in whatever the weather conditions are the next 2 weeks against whomever it is. But it won't be Mahomes and Allen and Burrow. I mean, like right. Their pathway, if they don't do it this year, I mean, that's what I'll be writing about next week saying, dear Lamar, like it ain't ever going to get better than this. I mean, your body looks like it feels pretty good. You look like you're spry. As spry as Joe Flacco looks right now, but that might change on Sunday if somebody comes after him, hits him in the head. Who knows, right? It's football. But I expect them to win the Super Bowl. I'm planning for them to win the Super Bowl. I'm planning this crab cake row week. Yeah. That they've thrown me out. Send Chad Steele. You can throw him an email and ask him why WNST is not broadcasting live from the Super Bowl when they're in it because everybody's asking me. I got people sending me emails, Billy. Where are you going to be on Radio Row? What time do you get to Vegas? I want to buy you a drink. Your team's going to be there. This is the year your team's going to be there. And they're sending me, do you want this Hall of Famer or that Hall of Famer? Do you want this player or do you want that player? And I'm not going to be there this year. So that's what I'm dealing with as I'm putting Crab Cake Row together. And navigating the tournament and watching the games on TV, I mean, this is a pleasurable weekend. Like the fact that they added the Monday night game and all that, you're like these whores. But this Peacock, do you have Peacock?
No.
Well, then you're not watching the Chiefs-Dolphins game unless you're meeting me at a bar somewhere. I'm thinking we'll go up to Hollywood Casino Saturday and watch it.
Yeah, really, that all bothers me a lot. What game was it a couple weeks ago that was on Peacock only, and it was a good game?
Christmas Eve, I think, wasn't it? Or was it
one of them? Yeah. And we were sitting around, and it's like I know. Out of spite, I am not buying another streaming service. Like I really want to watch this game, but I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it. So I don't know. I, look, I think you're right. It is weird to be the hunted, not the hunter. And he does have that playoff pressure to do it. The pressure's not, it's not like this is his 15th year and he can't get off the schneid. So I don't think there's this, oh, can Lamar win the big one? That is not, I mean, they'll talk about it, but it's not a big deal
Well,
yet.
the issue isn't is can Lamar win the big one? It's can the Ravens win the big one, and he's got all the tools here, right? Like the defense
Right.
is
And the
it's built and
matchups,
it's
to your
stocked,
point,
and
the matchups,
the day
right?
after they get eliminated or the day after they hold the trophy, this thing's over with because Patrick Queen's going here. They're pimping this Trenton Simpson. He came out and played last week. So he's signing autographs this week. Good for him.
I find it interesting as to what the story is, knowing all the drama in the offseason. He didn't hire an agent. What an idiot. He never, like the end of season last year, he didn't go to the playoff game, like all that goofy stuff. And then he comes out and he's MVP. And then if you win the Super Bowl, like I think most of the trend says that once they sign that big deal, they don't produce. And here's a guy who's going to completely buck that trend. And like, I don't know, they're going to all laugh because they'll be like, yeah, well, we were worried. We didn't know, we didn't even think we would be a 500 team when we were all convinced that there was no way Lamar was coming back. Like that's how far this mind
Oh, it's
track
been a
has
purple
gone.
magic carpet ride, right? No.
Yeah, it's been pretty insane to think about where we could have been and where we were going, and then to just see him perform, and then yeah, like Roquan Smith and the defense, and like I mean, they're really fun to watch. To just beat the pants off of people 2 weeks in a row, where like every commentator is telling you all of the reasons why. Well, it's really not fair to even expect the Ravens to win. The 49ers, they're out West Coast, and the 49ers are really good.
That
And
spread went from 4 to 6.5.
they just, yeah. And I mean, I don't know. They got a little bit of a chip,
Well,
that
the
that
interceptions in the San Francisco game really, how bad
yeah,
they threw the ball around changed.
yeah.
Not take that away from the Ravens defense. Just saying, I think the next time around that it wouldn't. It'll be a better matchup, and everybody has believed it. And I think people want to see it. You know,
Yeah,
as much as they say
maybe.
like to see the Lions in the Super Bowl or the Eagles in the Super, they
Well,
don't. I mean, and I think that people like to see the Bills in the Super Bowl. That the Browns would be interesting, especially with Flacco. But I think the
but
best game, as America would see it, would be the Ravens and the 49ers again.
yeah, it's the rematch, right? I my only problem with that, the 49ers, is like, did we expose the real Brock Purdy, or because he isn't supposed to be an MVP candidate. Like who thought he was going to be an MVP candidate? Like
A
that
guy
that
named Doug Farrar wrote a great piece right after that out in Seattle. He's a writer, Farrar, about the confusion factor of Mike McDonald confusing the line of scrimmage with in a different way for Purdy. That the Ravens did things that night that they had never done, that he had never seen on tape in regard to dropping safeties and personnel and where pressure and heat was coming, and all of it was disguise based. It was
and
all just it was deceptive and worked.
right.
And whether it would work again or not, and that's the game, right? The game is deception.
So even from a layman's perspective, you're watching that game and like George Kittle is thrashing us, and you're like, why did they stop going to George Kittle? And it's like, oh, well, because we adjusted and we just dropped our linebackers a little bit deeper, and all of a sudden George Kittle's taken away. And Brock Purdy is not a mature enough quarterback yet, or the OC isn't able to make that adjustment or
To
see it.
recognize it in real
Yeah,
time. Yeah.
whatever it was, right? Like you're 22 chess steps down the road in the second half of that football game. Your quarterback has the confidence of an ant at that point. Like he is afraid of every throw. Yeah, I don't know. Like maybe, sure. Like Lamar
You go
makes
into the
people
games. I mean, most
Lamar
importantly,
Lamar makes people look stupid, man. Like
oh, there's no
at the
that's
NFL level, on the consistent, like consistently makes people look silly.
yeah, and the defensive effort. I just think that their
Yeah,
pathway to not have to go anywhere, start with
yeah.
that, not have to go anywhere, that bodes well. And to not have Buffalo and Kansas City, to not have to beat both of them. I mean, they're I'll say this, no matter how playoffs will ever set up again, even if they're one seed again next year and that's where they are, it won't look like this. Burrow will be involved, Lawrence will be involved, Stroud will be better. Guys, all these guys are coming on. I mean, they really are. But Lamar's surpassed all. I mean,
Right,
Lamar's the unquestioned MVP, but
right.
there's still 3 hours of football left, and that's a lot of football. Bill Cole's here. Cole Roofing, Gordian Energy. He does things on roofs. For businesses, it's cold, it's wet. I think of you when the snow and the bad, and especially the wind the other night was awful on Tuesday night. You go in the game because I'm asking a lot of people. I'm doing a lot of celebrity out of town stuff and football stuff here this week, but everywhere I go, people are like, the people that have PSLs, this is when you use your ticket usually, right?
Right,
Like this is like
right,
opening day. Like the reason you have your tickets and you
right.
lose all this money having tickets and selling them for $3 to Rams fans a couple of weeks ago. I mean, I could write at length about the benefit of Chad Steele throwing me out that it's been $8,000 I haven't given the football team the last 2 years for season tickets, of which whether I would get $8,000 with a pleasure or not, I would always be, it's raining out. It's awful out. My wife is sick. My wife's out of town. Do you want to go? I'll take John Allen with me and eat, put it on the credit card in April and then not really worry about looking back in row 6 and seeing the 2 tickets that were my PSLs sitting empty week after week after week while I put out on Facebook, does anybody want to buy them? And nobody wants to buy them. And then I go on to StubHub and see the tickets are $5 at game time, which I have screenshots of all the games. There were 3 games this year where the ticket price held up. And I mean held up, not premium, just held up. Just held up. Just where you could get your $75 back if you had a $75 ticket. There were 3 games. When the Bills, or excuse me, when the Dolphins came in here, they packed the place. When the Lions came in here, but most weeks, it the truth of the market is it's a bloodletting. And I buy a lot of tickets for a lot of things. Super Bowl tickets are going to be $10,000. And we have fans here that didn't want to pay $10 to go see an 11-3 team 3 weeks ago. And they live here. So I don't know what the temperature is. I've had 2 or 3 people ask me if I'm doing a trip to Vegas. And some of them relatively vapid people, you know what I mean? Like out of the loop as to like what's going on with me and the Ravens and Luke and all that. But I also said, you do know it's going to be $10,000 this time. It's not going to be $3,400 on a bus to New Orleans. It's a $10,000, not a minimum. I mean, minimum 8. If you hit the lottery, and I told Raskin this the other day, because he's got club level. You have club level seats, right? Tell me about your
Yeah,
tickets
yeah. Corner end zone. Yeah, club level. Yep.
from the beginning.
Yeah. Yep.
How often do you go lately?
I haven't been in 2 years. Don't tell
Why?
anyone.
Why?
Um, well, mostly because of youth sports. So I'm either at a 12-year-old soccer game or a 11-year-old basketball game, or and that'll be the conflict with whatever playoff game is. Like, I don't know, we're spoiled, man. Like you think about the hype around an Oriole playoff game, and it was like you had to go, you had to get a ticket, the people had to go, you know what I mean? I People don't feel that. Most of the discussions I've had with people are around whether they can make money on their tickets or being able to get, the tickets at the beginning for face value and then being able to sell them more. Like, and then if they can't, then they'll just go. So
I
I
had a
don't, I,
buddy of mine that from Nags Head, North Carolina, who he's been to one Raven game in his life. It was a playoff game. It might have been the Denver game 22 years ago. Like I got him a
right.
ticket. He sat with me. He's a childhood friend. We went to middle school. He's one of my favorite people. He has a bike company and a tent company down in Nags Head. He's made a whole life down there with a bike shop. He had a mongoose when we were 8. One of my favorite people, Chip. His kids are grown ups now. They're in their 20s. He wants to bring his son up to go to a big Raven game. I reminded him Ray Lewis will not be dancing this time.
Yeah,
To
right.
change things a little
He
bit.
might. Hold on, he
Oh,
might. You
oh,
know,
you know
he
what?
might.
You
He
know
might.
what? You know what? That might make me go.
Right.
Whether if Ray dances, I'm there. Because things changed when he stopped dancing. It really did. I mean, the whole
It
vibe of
does.
the building changed when he stopped dancing.
Yep. Yep.
And I'll be writing Purple Rain 3 about that at some point. But um, I, I told he was real nervous. Like he's like, I really want to come. I'm like, dude, pipe down. He's like, I got $350 a ticket. I'm like, dude, if you want to piss money away, go ahead, but you don't have to spend that much to get in. Well, I want a good seat. I'm like, here's the deal, and I'll tell anybody this. So I'm not a ticket broker, but I've done a lot of tickets,
Right.
and I've seen a lot of. This is my advice to anybody. If the Browns get in, it will be a $350 ticket because they will
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
and they will
I
buy
agree.
your cousin's tickets and they will piss off Pete
Yep.
over Costas by buying his buddy's tickets that had all Steelers fans in it last week because their fans are selling it. And Pete had the same Dundalk bravado I had 20 years ago. I would rather die than sell a Steeler fan. Steeler fans are not now after what
Yeah.
they've done
Now,
to me. Open market, baby. Let's
everybody's that way now.
like I am not a Raven. I am not on the Ravens team. I am the one holding them accountable for them trying to wreck my life, my career, my business. So sell your tickets. Make your papers, as Cat Williams would say.
I
But
think the Browns. I think people would want to go see Flacco. So even in Baltimore, you're
But
going to have
Baltimore
more
fans
people
don't want to spend
interested.
300. Here's where it is. This
Right.
is where the nut cut time. How much are our fans willing to spend, and how much are their fans willing to spend, and how much more important? It's how we got tickets in Pittsburgh. It's how we took buses to New England, right? Like we
Right.
were the invaders in January every year. I drank beer with you in Indianapolis, dude, in Broad Ripple. We all went
If
into their stadium wearing
right.
purple in their seats, in their because we were willing to pay $175 and the Colts fans weren't. Like literally,
If
that's where this
Buffalo
is, right?
if Buffalo comes for an AFC Championship
It's
game,
a $700 ticket
yep, it's a good
because
ticket.
their fans can't afford to go to the Super Bowl. They'll come down here and their Super Bowl will be hanging out at the Hyatt at the Inner Harbor, and they will have 25,000 of the tickets in the stadium if the Bills come because they will pay your buddy to stay home.
Yeah, the only games that people don't make money on would be a Texans or a Dolphins game. Every other game, I think you make money on that ticket.
See, you're he's a
Chiefs,
businessman, Bill Cole. Hey,
Steelers, Bills, Browns. I think you make money on all those. So
all right, well, I am rooting for as a journalist, I'm rooting for the best story, right?
okay.
That's what I've said to all the journalists here. So the best story for my community will be for the Ravens to win the Super Bowl, right? And how they win the Super Bowl and the pathway that it happens and the fun we have and the fireworks going off 3 weeks from now down after they beat the Bills soundly and roundly to prove that they're then we'll have a party. Bill, I will catch up with you next week. I know you're coming out
Yep.
for Crab Cake Row. I'm sorry our time was a little short this week, but I'll
All
give you a
good.
purple Snap lottery ticket here for the road. Good luck. All right.
Thank you.
Crab Cake Row settles in on February 5th. Bill Cole's at Cole Roofing and Gordian Energy. I had to do a little short time with him today because I have all sorts of football stuff happening. Luke's in Owings Mills. I am here. If you're on our text service, you'll get the news first. Enjoy the games this weekend. Happy New Year. We are WNST AM 1570. Taos in Baltimore. We never stop talking Baltimore. Positive.